My name is Dr. Philip Alexander, and this is the second episode of the World Revolution podcast. And I am interviewing a mentor of mine who I have so much respect for, who's taught me a lot of things along the way very recently. And it's Brandon Bozarth. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and dive in.
So the question that the first question that I ask people as a trademark question, what is your life purpose?
To be myself as fully as possible. So right now, the way that I see purpose is we all share the same purpose, which is to be ourselves. And the way in which we express who we are is what makes us so unique and individual. But the fact that you're you and I'm me means that we can't have the same exact purpose, or there wouldn't be any reason to have you and me here. There'd only be one of us, right? So my purpose is to be myself. How that is manifesting and how I guess you could say I'm showing up and serving the world is to be an example of what lies down the path of integration and really allowing yourself to be all of who you are. So in that journey, there's healing work. I mean, I can talk about what that looks like in detail, but to sum it up shortly, it's to be myself as fully as I can in all ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that and love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? That's the great question. My response to that would be, we are here, and that's why. That's it. Now, if you look at existence and how existence is structured, you have the one, right? And this has been referred to in many ancient texts and spiritual teachers as, we're able to, as physical beings, actually unite or combine or feel oneness. And what that is a merging or a blending with God. And God is all that is. It is the one. It is everything. Now, why we're here is to rediscover who we are through this unique perspective called my perspective and your perspective, right? Because the one has only one fundamental trait, and it is. That's the only trait. It is. Now, how can the one experience itself without an other, without a reflection, right? Imagine if it was just you in the entire universe, and there was no reflection, meaning no people, no objects, material things, just an empty void. You wouldn't even know that you're you. You wouldn't feel like an individual. You would just feel like there's just this. It just is. There's one thing that I'm experiencing. Then when you introduce the sense of someone else or something else, then it says, oh, well, that's that thing there, and that's what makes me here. So I start feeling the experience of what it feels like to be an individual while knowing that that's just a reflection of myself anyway. So the reason we're here is because we're an aspect of the Creator in a very individualized form to go from the experience of being completely disconnected and separate from itself so it can remember itself, learn about itself in a way that's never been done before. And that's what every person, as a unique perspective of all that is doing by being themselves. And you can't get it wrong. That's the great part, is like, you cannot be yourself your whole life and live for other people and take on all these beliefs that aren't yours and live that way. And you're still learning about your relationship to all that is on so many different levels. Right? So we're here because we decided that this would be a fun experience for us on this thing we call Earth, to experience a very dense physical reality. It's actually a fourth dimensional reality, 3 of space, 1 of time. So we can then ascend, which all that really means is to up our vibration. All that really means is to be ourselves. And so then we can start learning and integrating more of ourselves to return to that state of not necessarily oneness in the sense of, well, I'm just going to merge and I'm going to be all that is, but I'm going to experience myself as all that is. And that might not happen for lifetimes. And it can't happen fully in physical form, right? Because there's this whole road of, dimensions and stops along the way of that evolutionary cycle. But we are, as a species, in an evolutionary cycle where we're going through different experiences, different perspectives, different dimensions, different levels of consciousness to remember the entirety of who we are. But it's unique, and it's actually the cause and the creating of the expansion of the universe as you make choices. Because through your perspective and the choices and experiences that you have, no one else in the universe has those. And that's simply information, which is collected in consciousness and expands consciousness. So that's how we all contribute. And that's why so many people will say things, when I hear people say, oh, you have to make an impact. There's no such thing as making an impact greater than the impact you've already made and that you're already making. It's just about revealing and paying attention to the impact that you're already making. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Yeah, I had this question going in my mind as you were speaking. Everything that you say makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but like, how do you know that that's true? What you're saying?
Well, yeah. So you just have to think about it for a second. If there's all that is, which we can call that God. All that is everything in existence, right? All things, leaves nothing out. Now, if the idea of God and what has been written about in the ancient texts as the creator of everything can experience itself as the creator of everything, it can only experience itself as that if it has a reflection of itself, right? Because all that is like, again, it just is here. It just is. Everything here, everything in the universe on all levels and every dimension is part of God, is, you could say, is God, just to make it simple, is God. Now, for God to learn about itself, for it to create more expansion, right? It has to create another perspective than just is, because there's no contrast, right? That's why in our life and physical reality, there's contrast. There's things we don't prefer. There's challenge, because through that reflection, we learn more about what we prefer and what we don't, who we are and who we're not. So as above, so below. If there's contrast on this level, there's going to be contrast on every level. And as you expand your consciousness, a side effect of this is the ability to perceive the structure of reality. But it really comes down to a very simple view. There's the all that is, that its fundamental quality is the is. It is what it is. And then there's the is that is aware of itself through the infinite reflections of itself that appear in all life forms, all matter, all forms of consciousness throughout the multiverse. Right? Because remember, if there was no reflection of itself, then we couldn't be having this conversation. Right? We are those reflections because we have a perspective. The fact that you have a perspective means you are not experiencing yourself as all that is right now. You're not. And actually, we cannot fully experience that in physical form, or we wouldn't be physical. Right? We could bring into that state of being, bring in a similar state of being, of the oneness, of feeling connected to everything, but we cannot perceive ourselves as all that is. We can perceive ourselves as us having an experience of all that is, but what that feels like is there's just nothing left besides ourself. But it's still coming from our perspective. So the fact that I have a perspective and you have a perspective is what shows that there has to be something that would create a perspective of, and what do we have a perspective of? Life, of all that is, of consciousness. We have a perspective of everything that we see outside of us, which is a projection of consciousness. So by just understanding that model, it's, oh, okay, well, there's the creator, and then there's reflections of the creator. Right? And that's it. And it's that simple. And as a reflection of the creator, there would be no the point and the purpose of having a reflection of the creator itself is to create a brand new perspective of itself, right? Because where are we inevitably coming back to? Humanity is, no matter what we try to do, we will always be pulled in a positive direction, always, because of the fundamental quality that determines how we make behavior. Everyone is inclined to, and acts 100% of the time, no matter what, on what they believe is not in their interest. They'll act away from that, and they'll move towards what they believe to be in their interest, right? This shows us that there is a fundamental mechanism that guides our choice that moves us towards love. It moves us towards a good, more of a sense of well-being, what we believe is best for us. Now, sometimes that could get confused and muddled up, and some people could think, well, what's good for me right now is to kill people, right? And that might be the path that they're on. But no matter what, even if they go down that path and they realize that's not the way, they're going to only go down that path so far until they realize they're not getting anywhere. And there's going to be a point, whether in this lifetime or the next, that they realize those choices aren't going to get them what they really want. So because we are all pulled in this direction of expansion, of growth, right, of evolution, because if scientists can observe the universe, and what they observe right now is one fundamental quality, and it's that the universe is expanding. So if you can see ourselves as a reflection of the universe, well, what's a trait that we're exhibiting as well? Well, we're expanding. So if we're expanding, and the way that we do that is through contrast. It's through learning more about who we are and who we are not. It's about refining who we are, allowing more of ourselves to come through, more of the passion, more of the excitement, more of the love, because these are the positive emotions, the positive states of being, and by their very nature, they expand. They're expansive. Right? It's like you think of when you let something go that was really negative, you feel a weight off. And then what do you feel? Oh, I can breathe again. I feel, you can literally feel the sensation of expansion when we have aha moments, right? People have aha moments, like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. All of a sudden it's like, they feel this, oh, wow, expanded. I have a new understanding now. That's called an expansion of awareness. And all awareness is consciousness, expansion of consciousness. So if we're all being driven in that direction, what that means is fundamentally our purpose is to go through this ascension process. So if our purpose is to go through an ascension process, well, why? Why do that? Right? Well, if I'm going through my own way to ascend and you're going through your own way, we are all our own pathways to the ascension process. I'm not on a path. I am a path. You are a path. Everyone is their own path. And if everyone shares that one fundamental quality of we're all different paths, but we're on the same path in a sense to ascend in our own unique way, then that must be the way that the creator learns more about itself, reflects itself through these experiences that are never ending and infinite, because in non-physical, time doesn't exist. So there's already a version of us that's ascended. There's a version of us that is connected with all that is, and there's a version of us that's in spirit. There's a version of us that is 2,000 years before the now that we're in now. So it can seem complex, but all of existence is simple in its basic form, right? We are here to raise our frequency, which all that really means is we're here to be ourselves. How do we be ourselves? We act on our passion, our excitement to the best of our ability, because that's the physical translation of our higher mind, of our higher self, saying that's where you're meant to serve. That's who you're meant to be. Act on this, do this, talk to this person, right? That's what Jesus spoke about as following the divine will or the will of God, right? All that's referring to is the will of your higher self, of your higher mind, of the non-physical aspects of you that have a theme played out for you. There's a current for you. So when everyone starts being themselves in that way, almost like a dog doesn't try to be a cat. It's very good at being a dog because that's what it's designed to do. and it puts all its energy into that. When we put all of our energy fully into being ourselves and act in our passion and excitement at every moment that we possibly can, that's when things will change very, very rapidly. And they are. A lot of people are doing this, are starting to understand that their passion and their excitement can support them, and that they have enough power to create all the synchronicity, all the support that they need to continue the expression of their passion.
How did you come to all of this understanding?
Yeah. So a lot of different things. The short answer is by following my passion and excitement. Because remember, you will attract everything and anything you need to continue to do that, because the nature of the universe is holographic, right? It's a projection of consciousness. People talk about the theory called simulation theory. Have you heard of that?
That everything is a hologram and that we're...
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that is correct in a sense, where this is a hologram. Everything exists holographically. There's even scientists and physicists now that are starting to prove that physical reality is just a hologram. Mm. And this is where Elon Musk and some of these people that believe in this, they're starting to figure that out. This is not old news, right? When the ancients talked about everything being a reflection of you, or things being a reflection or a mirror theory, there was I think it's in the Buddhist tradition, or the Essenes, ancient civilization called the Essenes. They talk about the 7 Essene mirrors, and it comes from the understanding that everything is a reflection of ourselves, right? So a lot of this is based in ancient wisdom and has been known and forgotten. Like, there's been civilizations on this planet that embodied this information. Atlantis, some of the civilizations like the Dogon, early civilizations that knew these teachings and lived these teachings, that received them from, controversial places. Let's just say that. Some people think they got this information from extraterrestrials. Some of it was just directly channeled from source. So my information comes from a combination of things. The teachers throughout the last probably 9 years of my life, right? Really diving into content and books, and I'm very excited about this stuff. I'm very excited about learning how it works, so I can teach people in a very simple way to help them grow and expand and not suffer. And because that's my passion, I've been acting and attracting to myself everything I need to be able to do that in the best way for me. So teachers, books, from my own realizations, whether it's in meditation or just, and you've probably experienced this, nothing crazy or mystical, where you just have a moment where you go, oh, I get it. Of course it has to be that simple. Yeah, wait a second. If time doesn't exist and everything here is all here and now, there's already a version of me that has done this. Okay, so I just need to shift to that. Or like, well, you know what I mean? And you kind of just contemplate and you contemplate and you contemplate. And then through action, right? Through learning this and then applying the information in my life, I see that it works. Because again, I never ask anyone to believe anything that I say. I say, apply this for yourself and prove it to yourself. Because the fundamental teaching really is to learn how to be yourself. And we do that by investigating the beliefs that you've taken on that are not your own. Because everyone's baggage, their baggage weighs nothing. The only baggage that we have is baggage that we've taken on from other people. So it's about finding the beliefs that will keep us making choices that are out of alignment with who we are. And if we are self-honest and we look at those beliefs and we let them go, that process is called integration or transformation. As you go through that process, you allow yourself to express yourself more fully. You allow yourself to be more of yourself. You're not afraid of what people think. You know you're going to be supported. You know if you're not supported, that you can still choose to respond in any way that you wish. Right? So as the fear starts to be integrated, it's not that it goes away, it's that you create a different relationship with it. You no longer fear fear. So if fear comes up, it doesn't have to be as much of a negative process, and you can learn from it. So that's what's accelerated me most, is all of the fears that have come up from, leaving a top earning sales position to, only doing Facebook Lives and writing in my journal every day and having my car repossessed and all of these things that brought up so many fears, and, using steroids and all the darker parts of my life. It brought up so much fear. And I got to a point where I don't want to use the word obsessed, but I became extremely passionate about how do I transform this fear? How do I really get rid of it, is what the word I would have used then. How do I let this go? How do I end this suffering, that I'm in? And that just led me on a quest, different teachers, coaches, intensive workshops. One of my coaches early on, when I started coaching, I went through a 3-day intensive workshop. And it's one of those workshops where you feel like you're carrying 100-pound weight with you for 3 days straight, because everything is boiling up to the surface, everything that you're afraid to look at. And a week before that, I went to a Tony Robbins thing. And I love Tony for the path that he's paved. And he's one of the greats for sure. And those two events, one was a week long, one was 3.5 days long. They were within 2 weeks, and so much fear came up for me. And on the other side of that, on the other side of the fear, was so much understanding and simplicity, just step by step, not more than I needed, not any less, but just enough for me to really start acting on my passion in a bigger way. And as I did that, the right books came into my life, the right audios. I'm attracted to certain teachers that I study religiously. And then I go, and sometimes that's not what it is. Like I go through times in my life where for 6 months, I stop all input of all information, and I only ask my higher mind for information, or my guides, or the non-physical aspects of me. I'm not really big in needing to know their name and who they are. I just know if I can receive information from myself that works for me, who cares where it comes from? But I have ways that I've learned to do that through meditation, to gain clarity. I also trust that everything I need to know, I'll know when I actually need to know it, so that I don't need to study religiously if I don't feel like I need to. What I need to do is what is exciting for me most in the moment. And as long as I'm acting in that way and honoring myself, the information just will present itself in different forms, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, yeah, whenever you speak, it's always quite powerful. I don't know where it's coming from, but you're very. I can see you're very connected to higher source. Yeah.
And we all are. That's the thing. Thank you. We all are. The thing is this: we don't realize that all of us are actually channeled beings. That our physical self is like the fingernail to our non-physical self, and that we've actually never left non-physical reality. That we're actually in it right now, creating a projection of consciousness to make it seem like we're not, so we can have a physical experience to explore a theme, to learn more about ourselves. And the more that you're just exposed to this information, the more you start expanding, and you start thinking about your life and your challenges and say, well, if I'm here to explore a theme, I've had some really common challenges. Maybe that's part of my theme. I should see what the root of those challenges are. What fears do those bring up? Maybe a part of my life theme is to deal and integrate those fears. And then on the other side of it, I'm a completely different person with a new understanding and appreciation for my life.
So
And right? Go ahead.
you never used to be like this. Like what were you like when you were
Mhm.
when you were a kid and growing up in your family?
Yeah, I would just actually meditate for 10 hours a day. No,
Really?
no, I'm just kidding.
Right.
No, I was very much I mean, this is what I consider myself now the most refined version of myself yet, because it's who I am right now. And that'll change in a minute from now, or in a moment. So it's interesting because when I was just having this conversation with my partner, and we were talking about how different we were in the past and how it feels like a totally different person. And the truth of it is, it is. But I mean, I grew up in Half Moon Bay, California. It's a really small town. Sports were a big part of my life. I played football, basketball, baseball, tennis, wrestling. I played all the sports growing up. Pretty much normal in high school. I never really got too deep into like the party scene. And even early in high school, freshman year, I had what I called like my initial awakening moment. I could just label it that, where I started diving into these conspiracy theories and questioning everything. And there was just something about the school system and what I was seeing on the news and in the world that it just didn't seem right to me. And I was always not a fan of, the news, and I always resisted school in a certain way. Um, and I wanted to know why. Why am I feeling like this? So I would look for answers. Anyone else feeling like this? And I found documentaries. One documentary called Thrive was a big deal for me. Another documentary, The Secret, I remember when that came out, that was like expanded my mind so much. Like, oh, there's non-physical stuff at play here, and my state of being matters. And um, other conspiracy theories around the government. And it really led me to a dark place because I started realizing things like, 9/11 being an inside job, and all of these controversial topics where there was so much fear built into them, so much hate built into them, that although I felt like I was expanding my awareness and I started questioning everything, I also got very angry. And actually, at one point, my parents recommended I go to anger management. And it wasn't because of the conspiracy theory videos. I'm sure that was part of it, because it was really bringing up this feeling of powerlessness that I had. Like, wow, look at everything's being manipulated and I can't do anything about it. I feel powerless. So anger, let me get my power back. That's typically why we use anger, is to feel a sense of control again. But it was provoked from my very first relationship, where that girl, both of us, the girl that I was with and myself, we cheated on each other. And we were young, we were like 17 years old. And I remember feeling what it feels like on both sides, to be dishonest and for her to return the favor. Um, and it felt worse being you could say like the abuser versus the victim. It felt worse cheating on her than getting cheated on. And I remember that. I remember I was depressed and I didn't eat. And I remember I broke my iPhone into like 50 different pieces with a shovel one day, because when she told me what happened, I just all lost it. So I went through this phase where I didn't understand my emotions. I went through so much pain in such a short amount of time, and kind of coming out from that without the proper tools of learning how to integrate it, learning how to learn from it. I just kind of blindly went into college, really like depressed, not ever depressed enough to like sulk in my room and ever have suicidal thoughts, but kind of just one of those, you're just on autopilot. You're just kind of going through the motions. The only thing I had was the gym. That's the only thing. I could go, I could move my body, I could let go of everything that I'm thinking of. I could, I didn't want to be in college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. So I'm just kind of, in this spot. And that led to bodybuilding. And I started feeling like, okay, I could compete at something. I could set goals again. I ended sports, and I wanted something to put my energy into, and it was just that. Now that I look at it, it was through that experience, I attracted a mentor, two mentors actually, that started teaching me a lot about mindfulness and spirituality, and vulnerability and all of these things. And as I started, going through this process of bodybuilding and starting to love myself more, but also still realizing, wow, I have a lot to work to do about thinking about what it means to be a powerful man. Like, do I need to be big and strong to be powerful? And going through this process of just shedding those layers and attracting mentors in my life, it led me to more questions. Who else has gone through this experience? This is what helped me, spirituality and this, and I just want to start sharing. And it was just acting on these things that were exciting to me in the moment that kind of put me on this course. And the more that I realized, and then network marketing came into my life, which was like my first business venture, where I dropped out of school and I took it. I broke up with my girlfriend. I went all out. And it was like the first time I felt very passionate about something since like high school sports. And man,
it was VEN or something.
Vima or Veo?
Yeah, Vima, I think it was.
Yeah, Vima. Yeah, Vima. We sold energy drinks,
Right.
but they were like liquid multivitamins in purified water, and it was like a healthy alternative for college kids. But that wasn't the point. The point was we were starting what we believed to be a revolution, and that is what lit me up. And that's when I started to realize I'm here to be part of a revolution. And through attracting and acting on these things that were exciting me, I started to realize it wasn't a revolution in this way. It was a revolution of consciousness. And that's what started propelling me towards this direction, and then eventually out of network marketing. But in network marketing, we started a revolution. It was called the Young People's Revolution, where we realized the systems were not set up for us. They're outdated. The student loan issues, all these issues for students. That was my first passion of saying, look, there's a better way to live. You could be financially free. You could be healthy. All these things that I really believed in at the time. And we started a massive movement. It was crazy. We broke history in that company. We had 50% of the top 50 earners that were making well over six figures. 50% of them were under 22 years old.
Wow.
So we have this multi-hundred million dollar company being run by college kids. And we had the mansions, and like I hang out in San Diego in this massive mansion, and that was like my learning of material possessions and my learning of making money and losing it, and the struggle of the struggle I was choosing within entrepreneurship and all the lessons I learned from it. And I was 3 years of so many lessons, and I really surrendered. I had to show myself how safe it was surrendering over and over and over and over and over for 3 years to finally not resist myself. And when it was such a great experience. It's led me to speaking with you, because really what I started to realize is what I was doing in network marketing is the same thing I'm doing now, just from a different perspective. I was supporting people with believing in themselves and helping them connect with something bigger than themselves. I was just using network marketing as the vehicle to do it. But my role was never to just sell people, or I wasn't the branding or marketing guy. I was the inspirational guy. I was the guy that went in to support people one-on-one and to help them grow, and with everything that I learned up to that point. So it wasn't until I looked back in hindsight and I asked myself, well, what if I always loved to do in the most simple form? And what came to me was, I would inspire people. I love that. I love supporting people one-on-one and inspiring them. And it was from that understanding that said, okay, in some form, that's why I'm here, or that's how I want to express myself. So it gave me a lot of clarity as to why I'm here, at least where my gifts are.
What I've seen in your posts, you put a lot of symbolism with lions. You have some special connection. What's the significance of that?
Yeah, so interesting. I connected to the lion and the lion energy probably sophomore year of high school. I don't remember what provoked it, outside of I really wanted a tattoo because I thought they were really cool at the time. And as I'm scrolling, looking at tattoo ideas, this picture of a lion pops out. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And the next thing you know, I'm like scrolling at lions, looking at lions. And basically every day while I was in one of my classes, I would just look at different lions that I wanted to get as a tattoo. And from that point, I just started, I don't know, associating with that energy. It became my first tattoo. When I was in my first network marketing company, my nickname was Brandon the Lion. That's what people would call me. And it's because I guess I really brought the kind of more intense energy, especially back then. Like I can get intense, and you've experienced it, but it's nothing compared to network marketing because it was a totally different version of me that thought I had to be really intense. So yeah. Anyway, so that's what they would call me then. And then I had a really special moment with a lion at a zoo where it was sleeping, and me and my friends went over to the glass, and we looked in, and the lion wasn't doing anything. And I was telepathically speaking to this lion, like, get up, walk over, get up, walk over here, come over here. And just something in me, I felt so drawn, I felt so connected, I felt like I loved this lion so much that I just didn't want to give up. So my friends start walking away. They say, are you going to come? I said, oh, hold on, I'll catch up with you guys. And they start leaving. As soon as they leave, the lion turns, looks at me, and walks all the way over the glass, like this close to me. And we're just staring at each other in the eyes for a few moments. And then he walks back, and it just, the state of being that it put me in, I felt so connected and so powerful that it just resonated with me, from that point forward. And then come to find out that the symbology of the lion, the white lion specifically, it's really, in a sense, the courage and the bravery and the benevolence and the protection energy that the lion represents, but specifically between our connection to our higher self, or to God. So you have the white lion, which represents our connection to that which is sacred. And right now, the white lion is almost extinct.
Right.
And they represent this symbol of, well, almost like a barometer. When your consciousness starts expanding and you become more natural and you bring the world back into balance, we can start flourishing again. And they're beautiful mirrors. It's like they're the king of the cat family, and cats are powerful interdimensional beings that the Egyptians realized were very special, and it's powerful energy.
So you've brought that energy into something that you've created called the Institute of Integrative Self-Training. What inspired that, and what vision do you have for it in the future?
Yeah. What inspired bringing the lion in?
No, you sort of spoke about that, but
so what inspired IIST? Yeah. I had a moment where I asked myself, okay, when I get on the phone with someone, I have a certain understanding of human behavior and of universal law that it allows me to understand what people are saying, even if they're not really saying it, or what's really going on. And part of it is about being telepathic, where you're able to really sense where someone's at energetically, which everyone has that ability. It's just to different degrees. But a lot of it is based in an actual fundamental understanding of why we make choices, of how that decision-making process works, of what negative beliefs show up as, what they look like, and how to transform them, because that's the root of all behavior. So just having the understanding, I said, you know what? If I can put all of this into one place so someone can feel confident doing what I do in their own way, not what I do in my way, because that would be purposeless, because that's what I'm doing. So what makes it powerful is someone understanding the principles, so then they can apply it to their modality, which the truth of it is they are their own modality. That's the whole purpose of IIST. What I realized was how I unlock certain people to help them become more of themselves. And it's really, they're the ones doing the unlocking. I'm just providing the information in the environment, and then they choose to receive and unlock. My way of doing that is what makes me the modality, right? There is no such thing as an independent modality outside of yourself, because there always has to be someone to apply the modality, which instantly changes the modality in that specific way. So the purpose of IIST is to help other people understand that they don't need to, be more than who they are, with a simple understanding of how things work, and they can help people transform their lives very rapidly if that's what they wish to do. Right? So it came down to, well, what's the fundamental understanding that I have that gives me the insight to how to support someone and how to support them in transforming their selves, their negative beliefs, the core beliefs that are creating the behavior in their life. And the way that I do it, that's what makes me unique. And now I can show someone how to learn these principles so they can become their unique modality that very specific people in the world are waiting to receive, right? Because there's no such thing as a single-sided coin. So if the people that come to the program, if it's their passion to share, support, and help people transform their lives, then there are people right now waiting for that, because the universe is intentional. So if the universe is intentional, there's people right now waiting to receive. The people that hold back from giving their gifts usually hold back because, number one, they don't realize what their gifts are, that they have any. They're caught up on how do I actually support someone? And they're caught up as, well, is just me showing up on the call being myself enough? And IIST puts you through an accelerated way to learn what is not representative of you, help you transform your own negative beliefs, help you facilitate your own healing, and give you a fundamental understanding of the way belief systems, personality, behavior, emotion work on a fundamental level, so you can apply it in any way that's exciting for you. And that is going to be what accelerates you, and that's going to be what your people need from you. So the way that I see it is, it's not that I teach a certain modality. And that's actually what inspired me. Was it's not about just teaching a modality. It's about giving people an understanding of what makes a modality work, so then they can go and apply it in their own way. So although people do get certified, I'm not certifying them to go be a product of this information. It's a permission piece of paper with permission on it that says, now you can be yourself more fully. And now you have a more clear understanding of what that is and how to more clearly be yourself. And as you do that with people, you're going to give them what they need to transform and heal.
And what's the vision that you have for this? What is it growing into that you see?
Yeah. So a couple things. The first thing is, I see it transforming and accelerating. Maybe the best word is expanding the therapies, the psychologies, the psychotherapies, the far, let's say, like way out of how do I want to say this? The way out there spiritual practitioner, and then the way over there psychological practitioner. I see it bringing a more holistic point of view to anyone that's involved in human transformation. Because we're at a point in our consciousness where we have to realize transformation is part of a whole system. It's not the other way around. It's not transformation is its own system. No. Transformation is part of a whole system. The whole system includes psychology, the mind. It includes spirituality, the non-physical aspects of ourself. If that's not included in your practice, you're only dealing with 1% of a person. They're not actually understanding their true nature. And right now, because science hasn't caught up to spirituality, spirituality explains what science can't. So the third part is science. And if you have science without spirituality, you're only limited to the current consciousness of those on the planet right now, not those that came before us and not those that are assisting from ahead of us, right? So science, spirituality, and psychology combined together, because science is showing us what the physical world, the laws that govern the physical world, that govern the physical universe. If we don't understand physics in a certain way, then we won't understand the most efficient way to interact in a physical world. If we don't understand simple things like how everyone is literally interconnected by a web of consciousness, and how one change affects total change in a whole system, and we don't see ourselves that way, it's very easy to be selfish. That breaks systems apart. Selfishness is reclusive, it's compartmentalizing, right? So if we don't understand that, these sort of behaviors can arise, right? So these understandings, when they're actually in your bones, will make it so much easier for you to realize how simple it can be, and also how empowered you really are as a person, right? Other things like what you put out is what you get back. The physical laws of the universe that govern your experience, if that's not involved in your practice, then people can get in a loop of blaming themselves for their circumstances not changing. But if they realize that they're creating their circumstances, and that their state of being, their resonance, right? That's physics. We're just talking about physics here. The rate at which their physical body and the energy and their electromagnetic field is vibrating is creating their environment. If they don't understand that, then we can look at the environment and say, oh, I need to change the environment. If I don't want to be in this place, let me try to change it. Let me try to change my circumstances. And because you're the one projecting and creating your circumstances, and you're going to try to change it, it'll never work, because you're the one that needs to change, right? So there's some basic understanding around all these three areas that when they're combined. And then psychology, what does it look like to be in a negative closed circuit pattern of having an event that happened in your life that equals a belief in a story that reinforces the event, that reinforces the story, that reinforces the event? Closed circuit loop, right? How do you get out of that? How do you identify the belief that is at the core of a behavior or an emotional pattern in your life and transform it? So if all these areas aren't integrated into one, you're really not getting a view of transformation as part of a whole system. And that's what human consciousness is evolving into now, is we're realizing everything is a part of a whole system. That's why all these eco movements are happening right now. People are promoting being vegan because we realize, whoa, the choices we make are affecting the world. How crazy is that? So same thing with transformation, is we have to start seeing it as not just one segmented area, but as a holistic point of view. Because in the understanding of how things work holistically, you never have to try to be free. You never have to learn how to be free. You simply learn that freedom is already built in to the system, and that you're already as free as you will ever be. Right?
Yeah, to be honest, I've not heard of anything that's been to my mind that's been done like that. So yeah, that's really powerful. I really hope that it grows and it impacts so many people. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
How are we looking for time? How much time do you have?
I'm good for another 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to smash through some questions we can go through
Sure.
quickly, like a round of questions. What are your thoughts on aliens or ETs?
What are my thoughts on them?
Yeah.
They exist.
Mhm.
Anything else more specifically? I think that it's ignorant. Do you know that in the observable universe, there's 100 billion galaxies that we can observe? And within that, in each star system, in each galaxy, there's about 100 or 50 billion stars. What's 50 billion times 100 billion?
Goes beyond.
An astronomical number. It would be ignorant for us to think there's not other life forms. So this is what I think. And I've had my own direct experience actually with extraterrestrials, not physically, but I've had it in such a powerful and real dream, and several times on different occasions, that it felt just as real as this experience. And what I'm learning more and more to be true is that whether we're in a dream or watching a movie or we're in this physical dream, all that really matters is the experience of it itself. whether it's real or not, it doesn't really matter, because on some level it has to be real, because you can't experience something that's not real. What does that even mean? It's real in some way. So through my own experiences, and what I've come to understand is this: extraterrestrials, right? There's been something like, maybe I have to look at the numbers again, but something like over 10,000, or maybe it's even 50,000. I know it's a big number difference, but it's in the thousands and thousands and thousands of sightings of UFOs in human history. There's probably over 100,000. Who knows? You have to look it up, but it's a very, very large number, and there has to be something to that, right? There are people that have come out that have talked about presidents that get the debriefing about the ET situation. There's Roswell. There's all this stuff. I mean, watch the movie. I think it's called Unacknowledged, the documentary Unacknowledged. There's so much evidence to just show, yes, there is life forms, and that we are aware of it. Now, the significance of that, I believe, is our next step in the evolutionary change is to first go to a unified Earth where there's no war on the Earth, and we are all working from the understanding that we're part of a whole system, and that it actually benefits us to support one another, to share resources, to collaborate, to change the systems that keep us separate and that are not advantageous for us to create a world that supports everyone. So I believe that's the next step. But as we combined and, in a sense, synthesize our world to be more of a oneness society, not by any means neglecting our individualism, but by knowing that we're all one and having more harmony on Earth, what's the next step? Well, if you look at a cell and bacteria will grow and multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply and create a little civilization. And then it'll say, okay, wait, we need to grow into something else. We need to get bigger. So it might grow into this one, this one, this one, and then all of these little ones combined into one big one, right? And then it will do it again, right? Little one, little reproduce, and then it'll grow into a larger, more sophisticated organism. So you have this process of evolution where it's complexity, right? The more intelligent an organism is, the more complex it is. But all that means is it's these colonies of bacteria and organisms that have grown apart and then combined together, and then grown and then combined together to create new life and new life and new life. So in a sense, what's happening is our Earth is getting to a point where we're going to become a whole organism. Because that's what we really are. We're all one. And then from that place, all the other whole organisms, extraterrestrially, meaning extra, outside, beyond terrestrial Earth, beyond our Earth, we can start combining, communicating, interacting with them. But if I was an extraterrestrial and I looked at this civilization right now, I wouldn't want to be friends with us. So obviously we're in this process, but I believe it's just simply the next step in our evolutionary change to go from a more unified Earth to then start expanding out to the stars and combining our intelligence and our civilization and our awareness with different perspectives that, again, increase the complexity, increase our expansion, increase our awareness, increase our consciousness, that's the constant through evolution. That's what's actually creating the evolution. More awareness, more surface area in the brain, same thing. So I think that in this lifetime, we will experience full disclosure from the governments of the world that say, yes, we've been in contact. Most of you have very fear-based beliefs, and so do we. So putting this out, we are afraid a lot of things will happen. But now that a lot of you are being yourself and you're letting go of your fear, which is all this work of IIST, and you're able to unite, and you won't respond in a disastrous way, we can show you what's been going on. And then from that point, you can do with it what you will. And those of you that aren't scared and want to pursue that path can start connecting to higher levels of consciousness and life forms beyond our planet. So I think it's not this big crazy thing like, oh, aliens are going to land and whatever. It's an actual progression of our evolution. As we become more intelligent, we're capable of communicating with other intelligent life forms in the stars, and we can go from a what's the opposite of extra? What's the word? I guess a terrestrial civilization to an terrestrial civilization as well, where we can live on the earth, but also explore the stars and be more expanded to, and not bound to just this earth, but more unified with the universe.
Do you believe in reincarnation, or you remember a lifetime where you've been here?
Yeah. So I've gotten very strong, I've had dreams and very strong downloads of information where I get a very strong sense of where they're coming from. But I don't believe in reincarnation in the typical sense. Reincarnation, I believe, is an experience, almost like we're experiencing physical reality. Is it actually real? Is it actually all there is? No, it's an illusion. It's a projection. So same thing with reincarnation is it's the experience of making a connection with our consciousness to another experience of the universe, or of ourselves, you could say, of our oversoul, you could say. We're making a connection to draw certain information from that lifetime. So for example, that's why there could be 10 people that say, oh, I had a past life of Alexander the Great. But how could 10 people have the same exact life? Were there 10 souls in that one person? Or are those people wrong, right? Or are those people, as their consciousness, their oversoul, connecting to a different life form to draw upon lessons, information, themes that are relevant to this life, right? Because there's people that know that they've had a past life in Egypt, and the way that they use it is they're bringing through information that the Egyptian priests would teach into their teachings now in a new way. So the purpose is for them to connect and bring through that information. But this is something that's a dynamic thing. It's a dynamically changing thing. I can have connections made here at one point, but then if for me, again, expansion, the path of least resistance for me to expand based on me acting on my excitement, if the best thing for me is to stop, in a sense, plugging into that life, then I can choose another life to plug into, future or past or present, because in non-physical, there's no time. So I may have, right, I feel very strongly that I have connections in Egypt. I feel very strongly I have connections in future times. I feel strongly that I have connections in the Pleiadian constellation. So there was a point where I felt very connected to the Sirius star system. Yeah, so I think that reincarnation is real as an experience. You can experience it as, oh, I'm reincarnating, I'm going from this to that. But because from the level of spirit there is no time, you're really just shifting perspectives. You're saying, oh, I'm here now, and now I want to shift to this perspective to learn about this, and shift to this to learn to that. And it's all actually happening all at once.
Yeah.
And it'll always be changing based on what you need to grow and learn.
Well, yeah, I think we've run out of time. I guess my last question is, if today was your last day on Earth, this is inspiration that you gave me, what would it be?
What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, last day.
I'd be here with you right now doing this. And then after that, I'd probably ask myself, man, what's the most exciting option I have available to me now? And then I'd probably do that. And if that's what I did for the rest of the day, it'd be that. And if it was something else, it'd be that.
Living in the moment.
Yeah, I can't say I know what it would be, but I know the path I would follow, and it would be of my highest excitement and passion.
Thanks, Brandon, for doing this call with me, and yeah, you've helped me a lot in many ways that need not be mentioned on this podcast. But could you just briefly mention some stuff like your upcoming retreat and how people can contact you?
Yeah. So we have a retreat in Bali on the 30th of November. through the 7th of December. There's 12 spots available, and you can get in contact with me directly. Just find me on Facebook. I'm probably tagged in this video, so find me on Facebook, shoot me a message. It's called the Embody Entrepreneur Retreat, and what it is we teach people how to, in a sense, put their business in their body. All that really means is you blur the lines between your personal and professional life, and you experience what it's like to be yourself and get paid for it. What that means is you're giving the gifts that only you can give through your unique perspective in the way that only you can. And then we break it down to certain systems and models that get very practical, things like your marketing, creating leads, sales, all these ideas that are in a way that's very aligned with you, so you can go and scale a business. And the symbol that we use to represent an abundant business is 6 figures. So we show you what we've done to create that. But it's all about, at that retreat, it's 95% transformation, 95% integration. It's the deepest experience of completely finding all of the deep-seated fears and core beliefs that are the root of all your behavior, which is the root of all your results. So it's out of the 6 days, 4 of those days going deep into your personality, self, your beliefs, and completely shifting and realigning who you think you are. So then from that state, you're even capable of creating a business or an expression of yourself that is so refined and so aligned and so exciting that you know without a shadow of a doubt it could support you. So that's what Bali's all about. Really excited for that. It's our 4th one. And then there's IIST, which Philip, you mentioned, which we just launched the membership website a week ago, which is really exciting. It's really to support you in becoming a transformational expert, from seeing integration and transformation as part of a whole system, giving you a complete understanding of how you can be your own modality and facilitate really powerful transformation for yourself and for others. You can reach out to me directly for that as well.
And if you were to leave this video podcast with one message, what would it be?
Be yourself as fully as you can. And there's nothing else that you have to do. There's no place that you have to go, and you can never get it wrong.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, much love to you, and for your time.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.